week 2. This is our second weekly AA meeting. I've changed the name on YouTube to Amateur Analysts instead of Weekly AA Meeting because we had several people tell us when they searched it, all they found was videos of alcoholics. Not alcoholics, I just like drinking beer on a Monday night.
Cheers to that.
Only an alcoholic if you go to meetings.
Hey, I took psychology. You're only an alcoholic if it negatively affects your life or those around you. Otherwise, you can drink as much as you want. Keep that in mind.
Kyle, we have you here for an intervention.
Okay.
Joe. All right.
So joining us tonight is Michael Serio, another one of my buddies from Florida State. Trevor remains the lone non-Florida Stater. Doobie is on a date with his girlfriend. So we have a replacement for tonight. Serio, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Michael Serio. Florida State. I'm doing my master's in Orlando at UCF. Applied exercise physiology.
What's that? Knows what that means.
That's pretty much it. Yeah.
Sounds tough though.
It's fun. It's fun.
Okay, so tonight, last week I know we hit college football very heavy. Tonight we're going to go through college football again early. Then we're going to hit at NFL with the first week. Very heavy tonight. I don't know how many of you watching the Falcons game, but they did just score a touchdown right before we went live to Julio Jones. So fantasy people can either get pissed or excited about that.
Serio seems beating me by like 50. It's not even close.
Yeah, that's true.
Don't lose by that much. That's awful.
It's so bad.
All right, so we're going to start off tonight kind of going over our picks, anything we want to discuss, why we made some picks, why we made good picks or bad picks. I would like to say that Michael Serio was, 3-16 against the spread, which is scary bad. Never take betting advice from Michael Serio.
Yeah, I'm going to get my grandma to fill out an against the spread, and I guarantee she does better than me.
It's bad. We only had one myself that was over 500, and I was just barely at 10-9. It was not a good week for us against the spread. Kyle, you wanna go over your picks?
Yeah. I had a really good week last week. Unfortunately, of the four, I was the least successful this week. I was the only one of, I guess, 5 of us to take Mississippi State. That obviously didn't work out. It looks like most of us lost, like, you know, a lot of us obviously lost the Arkansas game. We'll talk about that later. And then I took Boise as well. So 17-5 for the week puts me at, I think, 39-6 so far.
And in dead last place.
In dead last, way behind everybody else.
Okay, I'm just going on the video, the order we got the video. So, Serio, you want to talk about your picks next?
Yeah, there's not much to talk about. I missed about every single pick you could have. I'll go over the ones I did get right. I got Zona, USC, and BYU with the upset. I'm not really going to talk much about my picks because there's nothing to talk about.
Trevor, you got anything for us?
No, except I'm worthless. I haven't been putting in the spread picks, so I need to start doing that. I've been cheating.
Yeah, it's very true. You've been going
Easiest
the easy
way
way
to win
out.
is to cheat, guys.
I'm going to talk briefly because I had the best week following my worst week last week. So, hey, I just had to even it out. Missed that Arkansas game, which hilarious. But, BYU coming up big for me and Serio on that one. It puts everybody except Kyle at 40-5 for the 2 weeks, and he's in dead last, which sucks for him.
Unfortunate.
Okay, so next we're going to talk about our most impressive team of the week. Kyle, who impressed you the most?
Well, I didn't want to give Ole Miss any credit last week because they played Tennessee Martin, but they went out and scored 70 points again. They look really good. 2 tune-up games before Alabama this week. I haven't made a decision on which way I'm going with that one, but they look about as good as they possibly can going into a big game with game day being there.
All right, so we got a vote for Bama. How about you, Serio?
I picked out 3 teams. 2 of them are pretty obvious. Ohio State, they looked great. Their defense was really impressive. And next, TCU. I mean, no surprise with those 2. My third, I tried to go a little bit under the radar, was Georgia Tech. They just continue rolling, and they look like they're going to be a force in the ACC, the almighty ACC. They have Notre Dame. They're at Notre Dame this week, and I expect them to steamroll. And they could really be a 1 or 2 loss team if they keep playing the way they do.
I'm with Sirio. I think they absolutely murder Notre Dame without that QB. So.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Some bold picks. Trevor, most impressive team for this week.
First, just following up on that, I actually saw a power ranking that had Georgia Tech outside of the top 25, and that's absurd to me. I don't know how you justify that.
Unbelievable.
Oh, man. It's because, was it a coach's one? Because you see that a lot with them, because coaches don't want to admit that the option is successful.
Yeah, no, I think it was some media guy. I can't even remember where it was, but I don't see it, man. They got a good O-line, and that quarterback knows how to run the system. They're going to be tough. I'm looking forward to the Georgia game against them, actually.
Yeah.
But I know Michigan State's getting a lot of love right now. I'm actually going to go Oklahoma. It's one of those things people throw around like a gutsy win a lot, and I've never really known what that means, but if there was ever a gutsy win, that's a gutsy win. Coming back from a pretty big deficit, you're playing away, you go into overtime, you get out a victory really they had no business going in the fourth quarter winning that game. So in the sense of just getting it done in a hostile environment, I'm probably going Oklahoma.
All right. So I thought about giving this to Notre Dame, actually, because you look at what happened to them. They lose their star running back week 1. They're in a tough game at Virginia. I mean, Virginia played UCLA well, too. Virginia's not a bad team. They can make things happen. Then you lose your starting quarterback, who's your overall star player. So, I almost want to put them as like that was an impressive comeback. You got a backup in, guy comes in unexpected, throws that late touchdown pass. But I wanted to go a little goofy with it, so I'm going to go Ole Miss like I did last week. But this time it's not because they played well. It's because Chad Kelly has made it through 2 weeks without being arrested, and I'm extremely impressed by that. I did not expect it. I called him to already be in jail by now, so good job, Chad Kelly.
Stay out of jail.
Yeah. Also, Kyle, can you turn a light on or something? You're like shadowy and creepy.
I'm trying to do it on purpose.
You're scaring the viewers, man. The few we have.
Drew just signed off because of the way that I look.
Yeah, but Graham stayed on. I know Graham stayed with us. Okay, so next, the most disappointing team. Probably not going to be a lot of shockers in this one. What do you got, Kyle?
Well, Auburn was pretty awful. I think everybody knows that. And then, besides that one, outside of the top 25, not a whole lot of crazy stuff. Typical homer pick. I was not happy with Florida State. I thought Dalvin Cook had a great game, but Golson played absolutely awful. So that one scares me a little bit. But Auburn for sure was definitely the most disappointing team last week.
All right, Ciro.
FSU and Auburn, they were obviously really bad. My outside between those two, probably Michigan State. I expected them to just derail Oregon. I had really high hopes for their defense, and although they shut down Oregon to, what was the final, 27? Their offense just looked putrid. A lot of bad drives, a lot of bad turnovers.
Interesting pick. All right, Trevor.
Arkansas or Auburn are the obvious choices. Somewhat less obvious for me is the flip side of what I was talking about with Oklahoma. I think if you're a Tennessee fan, you're really disappointed. So in the literal sense of being disappointed in the team, it's got to be Tennessee. I know the story with them is that next year is going to be their year, but it looked like they were going to get a big W, and that hasn't happened yet in the Butch Jones era. So, they were right there. They had a chance, and they didn't pull it out, and they were playing in Neyland. So that's disappointing.
All right, I'm going to go with one we kind of talked briefly before going live. I'm kind of surprised no one did, is Louisville. I knew Auburn was bad week 1, and Louisville lost to him anyway, but I didn't think Louisville was as bad as they were going to lose to Houston. That was just embarrassing. You can't lose that kind of game if you're that kind of program, trying to have a second big year. What we thought was a big matchup with Clemson coming up Thursday, and Clemson might just steamroll them, and I don't even think Clemson's as good as they're hyped up to be. So Louisville really kind of shocked me with that one. Any more discussion on disappointing teams?
Go Noles.
All right, so once again, my favorite subject in college football, the reverse Heisman. Who do we have going for the reverse Heisman this week, Kyle?
Uh, uh, okay, so Jeremy Johnson yet again. We talked about him last week. I saw a stat that said that it might be a luck thing for Auburn, but of the 21 passes that have been defended, I think it said like 7 or 8 of them like defended at all. So that's like your pop passes, stuff like that. 8 of them have been intercepted. That's so bad. So he's easily tops on my list still. That could change after a bad performance from somebody this week, but in 2 weeks he's been thoroughly unimpressive.
All right, Sirio.
I have a little bit of a dark horse here. I'm going to go with Alabama kicker Adam Griffith. He went 0 for 2 on field goals this week and 0 for 2 week 1. Coming out of a powerhouse program like Alabama, you would think that you'd be able to knock down some field goals. I think he's like a career 50% or 60%. So I'm gonna say that he is the worst player in college right now. It's hard to say 4th and 2 on the 30-yard line that you let this guy kick it. I personally hand the ball off. Then that is a reverse Heisman.
Kicker for Heisman coming out of nowhere there. Trevor, who is your worst player in college football after 2 weeks?
So this is the thing. He's not literally the reverse Heisman. There are worse QBs, but I'm going Jeremy Johnson too. In terms of when you look at a Heisman, it's the impact on your team. And right now, if he doesn't figure it out, Auburn's really in trouble. I think especially going into LSU, DBU, you got to be able. I think right now he's at 7 yards per attempt on throwing. Even though his completion's at 60%, that's not going to get it done. So that's got to be your pick right now.
So just to mix it up, because I was going to go Johnson, because 2-week performance, that's just not going to cut it. And Sierra, I know you missed week 1, but you did hear it. It was kind of supposed to be an impact player, so I'm not sure if we're going to give you the.
He's a field goal kicker. We're talking 12 points that he missed. Auburn loses the game if they have him.
We'll let it slide for a week, but because we talked about Johnson, I'm going to say a guy who I thought was crap coming into the season, and I'm going to go with Dobbs from Tennessee, who just was terrible late in that game when they had a chance for a big win against a big-name program, and he just couldn't do a thing out there. And I've already been low on him. I don't think he's a good player. I think they're just praying that they hold on to Jarrett Garantano, who is the commit they have right now in the 2016 recruiting class, and that Florida can't steal him because they need it. I'm really pissed Marquise Williams didn't do something awful again because I was hoping he just continued to be that all year long. All right, any more conversation on reverse Heisman?
No, but I think we're going to have a lot more to talk about once conference play opens up because we're really going to see whether guys are, good or just awful.
That's going to become an exciting conversation every week.
I will say with the Bama kicker, I was reading a little bit of just forum talk on that, and one guy had a good point where he was saying that if your career is 50%, at that point, it's not even maybe so much on the kicker as the coaches for keeping and sending him out there.
They said the same thing about Florida State's punter because he's just been so bad.
Yeah.
At some point, you just got to blame the coach.
Right.
Why do you keep sending him out? Get another recruit in the last. Because this guy's Florida State's punter is a freaking senior. So there's got to be somebody.
He's saying in practice he booms the ball.
Get a soccer player or something.
But if it's a mental issue, it's still a mental issue. It's not going to change overnight.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to preview a little bit of next week. Obviously, a few big games. Talk about what everyone's most excited to see next week, and maybe a few things they expect if they feel like giving any prediction. Kyle, you want to start us off again?
Yeah, hold on. I'm pulling up the schedule.
Well, while Kyle does that, I'd like to open some discussion on South Carolina at Georgia. Knowing Trevor and Eric, South Carolina always plays Georgia well. What do you guys think?
South Carolina just lost to Kentucky. Don't even try to tell me they're going to beat Georgia this next week. Georgia fans, including my girlfriend, are going to get really mad at me for saying that, and she's going to freak out because South Carolina is Spurrier. But no, just they lost their quarterback too. No, it's done.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if there was a year where Spurrier is not going to be able to pull it out, it would look to be this year. But I mean, I don't. She does have that juju against us. But I think if it was at South Carolina, it would be a different question. I'm feeling pretty good about it here in Athens. Although I still think Lambert, obviously, huge problems. They went to Ramsey for that one series, and quarterback continues to be an issue for the Dogs, and I think it's really going to hold them back. But South Carolina is not the team that's going to upset them. I don't think, but we'll see.
All right, now Kyle, you want to talk some Georgia?
I mean, pretty exciting matchups. Obviously, Alabama will miss game. They'll be there. I don't know how SMU currently is a 37.5-point underdog. They've actually put up a pretty decent amount of points.
Who do they have?
TCU. I mean, TCU scores points, but SMU has actually looked pretty good in their first two as far as offensively. I think it's going to be a shootout. I just don't see TCU being able to hang on by 5+ touchdowns. But and then possible letdown game for Oklahoma. Tulsa scores a lot of points. So they came off a big win, big comeback. But other than that, what else we got? Notre Dame, Georgia Tech, we talked about. Oregon is going to kill Georgia State. That's not even going to be. That's going to be bad.
All right, Serial, what are you looking forward to?
Friday night, FSU goes to BC. BC always plays FSU well. I'm honestly nervous for that game. I think the Noles will pull it out, but I think it's going to be another game that Noles fans are sweating. I'm calling the upset Duke over Northwestern. I don't know how big of an upset that is, but I like Duke. Other than that, the games Kyle mentioned, I think we got a good slate this week.
All right, Trevor, what do you got?
I actually had both those games written down too, although I think Northwestern pulls it out just because I think Duke's passing game is a little questionable right now, and Northwestern has pretty good pass D. I don't know. Duke might be able to run the ball a little bit. It'll be interesting to see. I think that should be a pretty good game. Yep. The Georgia Tech game should be interesting. I don't see them losing that. And then I'm interested in the BYU UCLA game. I don't know, Rosen, he seems like he might be the truth. Obviously, he didn't have as good a game as his debut, but his debut was a really great game. So, that'll happen sometimes. I'm really interested to see what happens. I think UCLA is a better team. I know Eric and I were talking about this a little earlier, but that should be a pretty good game, I think. And FSU, BC, I would think FSU wins that, but I've heard BC is better than people real-ize.
Friday night, got to go visit them.
Yeah, but they have absolutely dominated those two nobodies, that's for sure. So,
real quickly, want to explain for some people. I'm Eric, as well as Palmer. When Trevor says he was talking to Eric, that's still me. Don't worry about the confusion. I have two names. Just roll with it.
They call you Eric at law school?
Yeah, I've been going by Eric since after FSU, actually.
I don't know where Eric came from, but other people call you Eric, so now I've started saying Eric.
Yeah.
I'm confused, too, honestly. I don't know.
It happens. Don't worry about it. So, Trevor, I knew I wouldn't be the only one to bring up UCLA, BYU. I'm surprised more people didn't. If that's close to the end of the game and BYU's got the ball, I'm putting money on them completing the Hail Mary pass. I mean, this is getting ridiculous. They got a backup into the season that has thrown 2 straight Hail Marys to win the game in the last minute. And this one wasn't the last second, but they then got a pick 6 in the last second to just dominate the end of the game. So, if you got a freshman quarterback in Rosen who's looked good, but freshmen are still freshmen, you never know. And a true freshman at that. So, if BYU keeps this close late, I mean, that's going to be interesting to see what they can do. I think FSU handles Boston College no problem. Howard is probably the actual worst team in the country at any level. Their linemen were the size of an undersized linebacker in a Sun Belt Conference team. I mean, there was not a real football team. It was high school. So I'm not really worried about the Boston College game. I think our running game's got enough. I like what Kyle talked about, the SMU TCU. That's going to be interesting to see what Chad Morris, see if he can exploit TCU and kind of give a roadmap to some teams, kind of like I feel like he did against Baylor on how to score some points. So, everything else.
That's very interesting to me. I'm excited about that game. And even though Louisville started 0-2, Louisville-Clemson on Thursday night, Louisville's at home, first home game of the year. Or no, I'm sorry. Were they at home against Houston? I forget.
I doubt they went to Houston, but
Nope, they were at home, so they lost.
yeah.
Yeah, but so their second home game. But Thursday night, national television. That should be interesting. Clemson's a 7-point favorite, so at least right now.
Yeah, putting any game for two teams on 4 nights rest is ridiculous.
Absolutely. I mean, those guys had. I mean, I was reading stuff. They had practice on Sunday, so.
Yeah, that shouldn't be going on. So Thursdays can always breed upset, so that'll definitely be an interesting one to watch. So that kind of concludes our topics for college football. Anyone have anything else they want to elaborate on, or hear something they wanted to talk more about?
Nope, that's pretty much it.
This is less substantive, but I saw that, I never pronounce his name right, but the Florida coach, McEwen, how do you say that?
McElwain.
McElwain. Okay.
Is it McElwain or McElwain? Do we know?
I that's a good question. I don't really know.
I don't know. I'm just going to call him the Florida coach. But I saw he had a rant. I didn't watch that game, but I saw the internet was getting a little testy that he cussed out a player or something afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, there was audio, and he basically said what. So the guy did the slash the throat motion, which has been, obviously made illegal.
Right.
He basically said, "What the fuck is wrong with you? Where the fuck did you learn that? You didn't fucking learn that in practice." And the guy was like the kid was looking at the ground. He said, "Look at me. Don't look down. Be a man." And I mean, I didn't see a problem with it. Is a kid making a bonehead move? You embarrass him in front of his team. He's not going to do it again.
Right. No, that's when I wanted to talk about it. My dad was a basketball coach for generations, and if he was cussing, it was usually when a kid did something really stupid. And I think it's a good way. It's early in this guy's career. He's trying to create a culture in Florida, trying to clean it up, quote unquote. I think it's a good way to set the tone. I don't see anything wrong with it. I actually kind of like it, to be honest.
He also demoted him. He won't start on Saturday.
Yeah. Yep. Got put second team.
Yeah.
In a maybe not for some people think a big game, but this is Stoops has been trying to beat Florida for a while, and would have beat them last year if the refs had seen that the play clock was at 0.
You got to be careful going on the road at Kentucky after a big is relative against South Carolina, but that's the first ACC game. I want to say it's the first SEC game they've won.
2 years. No, that's Vandy, not Kentucky.
2009, I think. I forget what it is.
I think they beat like a mistake when they were crappy or something. Or I know Vandy hadn't won an SEC game in forever, but
that's UF needs to be careful after struggling with East Carolina. Thank God for a slippery football, or that might be a tie football game the other night.
All right. Any more, Siri? You got any comments on McElwain telling a player he's a little bitch?
No, not at all.
All right. So we're gonna move on to a little bit heavier version of the broadcast, and we're gonna go with the NFL Week 1. A lot to talk about. We're gonna start it off as we did college with our picks. Kyle, what do you got?
That was ugly. That's all I got to say for last week. I think this is going to be a recurring theme for me. As far as my picks for the NFL, I'm not hugely correct on all these. Obviously, I had the Patriots on Thursday winning. That was a lot of fun to watch. How about that halftime show, the opening monologue, so to speak, where they just absolutely shoved it up Goodell's ass, that whole
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys see the picture that Kraft leaked of the banner they had ready if the Brady suspension had held?
No, I didn't see it.
It was the number 12 superimposed over the Patriots logo with 3-time Super Bowl MVP written on it.
Oh.
And that was going to be the banner they unveiled if Brady. I mean, I don't know if this is true, but he had a picture of it, like the full-size banner. It was made. It was ready to go if the Brady suspension had stuck.
Unreal.
You think Goodell would have gone if the suspension stuck?
Would have gone to the game?
Yeah.
No, I don't think Kraft is ever letting him in that city ever again. Period. Kraft took the suspension for the team. Kraft took the punishment to the team. A first-round draft pick took it when the Falcons, for piping in crowd noise for 2 seasons, got like a 5th-round pick taken.
True.
And he took that penalty just so they wouldn't go after Tom Brady. I mean, I'm not going to get into the legal stuff. I'm not going to get it. Just Robert Kraft is never going to be nice to Roger Goodell again. Period.
Yeah, but anyways, a couple other ones. Obviously, I picked the Seahawks to beat the Rams. The Rams, absolutely stunned me. That was crazy.
I'm going to talk just so my video goes so everyone can see this. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. But the Bucks and Ravens, or the Bucks and Titans, sorry, that was a joke. I can't believe I picked the Bucks and actually thought that their O-line could protect everything. On top of that, the guys that are actually worth a damn didn't do shit. So that was just really ugly to watch. I actually walked down to the bar downstairs because it wasn't on cable TV here in Orlando. I was really excited, ordered a beer, got all ready to go, and then Mariota goes out there and throws a touchdown on the first drive, and then Jameis throws a pick six, and I was like, "What am I wasting my time?"
Kyle, are you like far away from your router? You're kind of getting choppy on us.
Am I? No, I'm pretty close to it. Hold on, let me go.
You're good now. It just was when you were talking, it got a little choppy.
Okay.
I'll monitor it. All right, Sierra, you want to talk about any of your picks?
Yeah, I'll go through a couple of mine. First off, Thursday night, Patriots, they looked really good. I'm kind of mad that the announcers talked about it because I wanted to talk about it and it seemed smart. During the offseason, the Pats brought in Scott Chandler as a second tight end who is really undervalued. I mean, he's a mini Gronk, and you saw the impact that he had, caught a touchdown. Didn't do much on the stat board, but you could definitely tell that his presence was felt. Packers squeaked out a close one. Go Pack. Jay Cutler, I'll touch on him later. The Colts, I did not have that one. The only person who did have the Colts was Mr. Perry Doobie, picking the Bills. Got to give him props for that. The Cards
we don't have to. He's not here. We don't have to give him anything.
Yeah, we could just absolutely shit talk him for 45 minutes.
We can do that.
He's not here to defend. We could have just said he went over 14 for the week and just been done with it.
Just gotten that over with. The Bucks, I completely whiffed on that. I saw it going pretty much the other way. I saw Jameis having a monster opening game, and it was far from it. So I look like an idiot on that. But I'll pat myself on the back because I got 11 right and 3 wrong for second best in the group. Unlike my college football picks.
All right, let's see. Trevor.
Yeah, I mean, I'm highly mediocre, to be kind to myself.
I also didn't pick 2 games randomly.
Wait, what?
You didn't give me a pick for the Patriots game or the Saints-Cardinals game.
Oh, dude, no. I texted you. I was going to tell you this, but that was in a separate message. It was a separate message. Because I did pick the Pats.
Who'd you pick in Saints-Cardinals, be honest?
I don't remember. Hold on a second.
We'll worry about it later. It's okay.
All right. But, I mean, I don't know. The Indy game surprised me. I'm glad I went with San Diego because I almost picked against them. We were talking about it a little before the show, but I still have huge questions about their O-line. The defense looked okay at some points, and some points not so much. So we can talk about that. But in general, not so great. But yeah, we'll get better as the season.
Well, I have you listed at 5 and 7 because I didn't get 2 of the game picks, but
yeah. Well, so one of those, I got the Pats. I don't know about the other one. I'll have to check somewhere.
All right. So it's funny you brought the Chargers because actually the Chargers and the Packers were the only consensus picks on the week. So everyone had the Chargers, got it right. Everyone had the Packers, got it right.
Yeah, how about James Jones, man? Thank God.
Well, I mean, yeah, he's sitting there available when you got a receiver go down. They grab him, and he's got a great game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to be the most picked up fantasy wide receiver of the week, I guarantee.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm trying to pick him up in my league, to be honest, because Des Bryant got hurt, and I'm screwed.
Oh, God.
But yeah, I'm gonna really brag about my Rams pick because I'm the only one to pick the Rams to win. Yes, I'm a Rams fan, and yes, that was part of it. But that is the 4th out of the last 5 games the Seahawks have played in St. Louis that we have won. We have a formula for them. We have played well against them the past few seasons, even when they've been so good and we've sucked. That's just we somehow have something we can pull off against them. Our D-line is probably the best in the country. I don't think I'm out of line saying that. I think they showed it last night. Russell Wilson in his career has been sacked 6 or more times, 4 times. 3 of those are against St. Louis Rams.
I just thought they were going to absolutely dominate with Jimmy Graham as a tight end and pretty much not changing much else. But they did lose some guys in the secondary, so I guess that's kind of...
And it showed. We had a game-tying touchdown late because Chandler's replacement fell the fuck down trying to run down the sideline.
Yeah.
I mean, and so did y'all hear this? I'm sorry, I'm going a little heavy on this game, but this is actually kind of a different thing to talk about. Did y'all hear what Pete Carroll said after the game about the
No.
onside kick in overtime?
He said they didn't want to do it, right?
He said it was not on purpose, and the ball was supposed to be kicked down the field. No.
So is that just a miscommunication?
No. It's him lying his ass off, and he didn't want to get blasted for being risky and trying the onside kick and then losing the game because of it. Because the kicker clearly kicked the ball straight into the ground. So that it went 7 yards. That's not a miss kick. I don't care. That's just the joke of the week to me is that he said that. That's all I'm going to go with picks. Sorry I went heavy on the Rams. I'm just super happy about the win. So that's actually no, I did want to say I'm pissed that Manning sucked like I knew he would, and yet the Broncos still found a way to win. That really bothered me. Syria just texted
Both
me.
Mannings didn't throw pass touchdowns?
I'm sorry, what?
Both Mannings didn't have a passing touchdown. That's crazy.
Wow, it's kind of surprising.
Usually light up the scoreboard. Neither of them had passing touchdowns.
Yeah. So we have lost Syrio. He just texted me. I didn't even realize his computer froze. So I guess he's working on getting back. Until then, it's going to be a 3-man show for a bit. Well, I start the next topic. Kyle, can you text him and tell him we're just going to go along and get him when he gets back in?
Yeah, I'll let him know right now.
You should skip to the extra point change then instead of doing the topic before that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's going to be kind of a general discussion. That's probably a good idea. So the extra point change, anyone watching, if you're listening to us talk about NFL, I'm going to assume you know what it is. It hasn't had a major impact on any games yet, unless I'm, not thinking really deeply about the numbers in the game, which is possible. You never know with that kind of stuff. And I was also on the road back in Tallahassee all day Sunday, and wasn't watching extremely closely. But I saw a good point today on it. Like the Cowboys hit that last-second touchdown last night, and it's not automatic that they're going to win on the extra point anymore.
Not anymore.
So this is an interesting thing, and I'm just kind of curious what y'all think about, who's going to be able to come back into it. And sorry, I said come back into it because Siri just texted me that. He's got me doing two things right now. But how much do you think it can actually impact outcomes?
Well, I'm not sure how much it'll impact outcomes, but I honestly think that it's going to just send the carousel that is NFL kickers on different teams throughout the year. It's just going to continue that trend. I think when guys don't make some in high-pressure situations, they'll get released, and then they'll move on to whoever takes them a couple weeks later. But you're right. I mean, if a team scores to tie it up with 30 seconds left, it is no longer a guarantee. I like it. I think it's great. If we're gonna have the kicking game in there, you might as well put some kind of difficulty to it, because I mean those guys they can do the one from the two in their sleep.
Trevor?
Yeah, so overall I agree. I think it makes it more interesting. It's not taken for granted anymore. And then I was looking it up, and I read a pretty good article about it. I wish I remembered who it was, but they were saying last season there were 1,230 attempts and 8 misses, so the rate was 99.3%. And there have already been 4 misses out of 64 attempts this year. So even though it didn't have a huge effect on the game necessarily, that's a rate of 93.7%, which I guess a few guys had crunched the numbers. That was the projection. And so if you start looking at it where you have a 93% chance of success, I could see a lot of coaches start seriously tweaking how they approach point after attempts. I don't know how they'll do it, but you got a lot of really smart football minds that are going to start looking at the numbers, and it could get interesting.
Yeah, and you saw a lot of people just experimenting with it in the preseason. Mm-hmm. I mean, who's to say after a couple of weeks in those big divisional games, if they get out to a 14-0 lead, they're going to go for 2 and try to make it a 3-score game or whatever real quickly. So I think I like it. I like it. I think it'll be good for the NFL. And like I said, it won't make people go up and get a beer when the extra point comes around, because people might actually be going for it and stuff.
Yeah, sorry I wasn't listening to a whole lot of y'all guys. That was good points. I'm trying to get Sirio back in. He says apparently it won't let him join back in, I guess because we're live broadcasting. Um, I told him to text Drew. I told him to text Drew. He knows more about this. I've never had this problem. If he can't
Yeah.
get back in, I mean, there's not much I can do about it. So we may just be 3-man for the rest of the time, and he can just message me if he has any comments. I don't really know what to do on that one. He needs a better computer apparently.
Yeah,
So we're gonna go back to my topic we tried to skip, and so we're gonna talk about how the Rams are gonna win the Super Bowl. No, the Rams are not gonna win the Super Bowl. I highly doubt we are. I threw that in to actually lead into the conversation of the funniest, most ridiculous overreaction you have heard after 1 week in the NFL. So, Kyle, what do you got?
Well, everybody freaking loves the Bills, just as a whole. I'm not sold on them yet. Tyrod Taylor is like a god to Bills fans right now. I don't see that continuing. I think the Bills are a good team. They've got a great defense. I'm just not sure that now the teams that have game film on Tyrod Taylor, I don't see him being successful. So, I mean, a great win. They absolutely beat up the Colts. They shut down Andrew Luck. But, taking them to the promised land already, like I've heard some people say, is just a little much.
All right, yeah, that's interesting. I know there was a lot of hype for him. That was a pretty impressive throw, though. He may not pan out, but damn, that was an impressive throw. Trevor.
So I messed up. I submitted this already to ask if I could change the form. And it's the form of a question. And I'm curious to know if one of my friends, he goes to law school with Palmer and he has a dog named Raider, and he was soliciting name changes for his dog Raider. I'm not sure if that's warranted or if that's an overreaction at this point. I don't know, man. I think Oakland will be okay. On defense, on paper, their defense looks pretty good. And I think Andy Dalton might be better than people think he is. I know my dad knows their quarterback coach, Ken Zampese, and he's always said that he thought Dalton was more competent than most people said he was. He thought he could be a really good quarterback in the NFL. But Oakland didn't seem to get any pressure on him. And if Carr isn't too seriously injured, I think their defense or their offense should be okay. But I don't know. I mean, obviously they didn't look good. That wasn't a good loss.
Yeah, but Tyler Eifert had like the game of his life.
Yeah. Fantasy.
He's solidly sitting on my bench right now, so that's cool.
Oh, he was all over my team. That's my fantastic team that's already over 150 points for this week, I believe.
Oh man.
And that's with Justin Forsett laying an egg for me. He was my only player. I don't know what Matt Bryant's gonna do kicking tonight. Falcons are up 20-3, by the way. But
that means he kick 2 field goals in. That's a good start.
Yes. So other than kicker, Forsett's my only player under 15 points this week, so that was fantastic.
That's a pretty good week. I had just atrocious. Deshaun Jackson got hurt on the first fucking drive. Just like, so bad.
So I told Trevor that I thought it was very valid to want to change the dog's name away from Raider. I think that is that might be an underreaction. Like, you might have to get a new dog. Like, I don't even know. Like, make sure it's got a good home. Believe me, I'm a dog lover. Don't worry about that. But like, you might have to get a new dog at that point. That's just ugly. Like,
it comes down to how responsive it is to the name, you know? If you can actually change the name and it will respond, then it might be right.
That's a real question.
Serio's overreaction is that everyone's really hammering Jay Cutler for being crappy as usual. In his opinion, he didn't play bad. And I'm reading here. Kept Rodgers off the field, and besides a late INT from a great defensive play from Clay Matthews, played a good game. I couldn't watch it. Excuse me, I was on the road. Don't know if y'all have any comment on that, but Jay Cutler's probably going to Jay Cutler even if he hasn't yet.
I watched the second half after I got back from Tallahassee, and I thought he was pretty good. It was just Aaron Rodgers was just better. There's really no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, I think he just played better than Cutler did. Cutler obviously made a mistake with that pick at the end. Matthews made a nice play, but I mean, it's week 1, still a lot of football, and you're right, Cutler's probably going to Cutler, but he did not look nearly as bad as he has in the past.
Okay, so I'm going to give mine, then we're going to switch things up a bit, but I talked about mine before we went live as well, and it's that, um, first of all, Mariota was fantastic. Jameis Winston, besides his horrible team around him, was really bad. He was terrible on his own. So I've heard about just about every single type of overreaction for both players you can imagine. My favorite are the people talking about how Mariota's going to bomb because the last time somebody had a perfect passer rating in their first game as a rookie, it was RG3, who may never play in the league again. That's also an overreaction, I know. And that the last time someone threw an interception in their first pass was Brett Favre, so Jameis Winston is going to have that kind of career. Because, I mean, that's both just as absurd as it gets. But those two players in general just garnered just ridiculous reactions for the past day and a half, and it's not going to stop.
And that's really no surprise until week 2. I mean, the media is going to have an absolute field day with that matchup and the fact that it went exactly how they thought it was going to go. A lot of people were like, oh, Jameis is going to be a bust. Mariota's going to figure it out quicker. The truth is, the Bucks just had no idea.
You might want to move your camera, Kyle. Half your face is going. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to see y'all's opinion, what you want to do here. I feel Bad Series out. It's better with 4 people. The time works better. I don't know if I stop the broadcast and restart it, if it's the same one or I have to create a new one. But as our big goal is not to get a ton of viewers, I'm not worried about what happens. Are y'all good with cutting this one? I'm going to try to just quickly restart it. But if that doesn't work, I'm just going to set up a new one immediately. We're going to pop him back on and do our last 20 or so minutes.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't care either way.
That's fine with me.
Trevor, okay. So we're going to see how this goes.